Assalamu alaikum everybody. I hope everyone is doing great. In today's video, I'll be talking about final expense. I'll explain everything about final expense. I'll also explain how we work in the call center industry. I'll explain pretty much everything about it. But before we start the video, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends, and leave a comment if you want to. So let's first of all talk about the call center business, and then we will explain in details the final expense, right? So the call center business that we are in, it's basically known as BPO industry, business process outsourcing. So basically, we take outsource from those clients who are in the US, the agencies, the brokers, and we give them sort of our services. We sell them our services. If we talk about specifically in Pakistan, if you were to hire around maybe like 20 agents or 25 agents, it could barely be around 2,500 to $3,000 the monthly salaries, right? Because it would be like around 25,000 to 40,000 per agent. But if you were to hire agents in the US for the same thing, right? Per agent is going to cost you around $2,000 or $2,500, in which you can obviously hire around like 20 to 25 agents in Pakistan. So that's why they choose to outsource their business to us, so we could work on their behalf, sell them the customers, give them the potential customers, and that's how the business works. We get paid only for the potential customers who buy the products or who would likely to buy the products, right? There are different modules for the sales. Some work on CPA, which is cost per acquisition. It is basically when the customer buys the product, then you get paid. Some work on CPL, which is a cost per lead. So there is a specific buffer time, let's say around 120 seconds, 125 seconds. It could be 200 seconds or 300 seconds. So once the 300 seconds are completed, then you get paid for the lead. And some of the call center in this industry are working on lead generation. So you basically generate leads for them, recordings. You just give them the recordings to the buyers, and then they go to the recording, and if they find it real, then they pay you for those. Now if you talk about the final expense, so final expense is basically a whole life insurance policy which is designed to cover 100% cost of burial, cremation, any other debts or obligation that a person may leave behind would also be taken care of. Uh, then we talk about the obligations. Obligations means if somebody was in a hospital and there were some unpaid bills, so those are known as obligations. And if somebody leaves any sort of debt, right, that debt is known as debt, obviously, so you have to pay that as well. Now the final expense policy could be used for different options. You could use it for burial, you could use it for funeral, cremation, or you could use it to pay the unpaid bills, which are known as obligations. And you could also uh, pay it for the debts, right? That's it. Now if somebody wants to leave something behind as a gift of love, it could also be used for that purposes as well. You could invest it in something you want. It could be used for multiple stuff. So final expense is actually a whole life insurance policy. So there are three type of life insurance policies, right? The first one is term life insurance. So term life insurance, just like the word itself says, term, is going to be for a specific period of time. It could be for maybe like 70 years or 75 years maximum. After that period of time, the policy is gonna mature on you, so you would be left with nothing. That would be gone. And then the second one is whole life insurance policy. So whole life insurance policy is basically going to be with you till you are alive. Once you pass away, your beneficiary would be eligible to claim the amount of coverage that you had bought, right? Uh, it's pretty expensive as compared to term life insurance, right? But the best part is in this policy, the premiums are going to be the same throughout your life. Your premium won't go up. Your coverage amount won't go down regardless of your health conditions or your age. But that's not the case with term life insurance. With the term life insurance, usually the premiums go up every single year, and so the coverage gets decreased every single year. And final expense and whole life insurance are usually the same, right? There is no difference, but there is a slight difference between whole life insurance and final expense, which is, if we talk about the whole life insurance, so once the individual passes away, their beneficiary will have to wait for around like maybe 7 is the minimum, and it could go up to 90 days. So there would be a waiting period of like maybe 7 to at least 90 days. It depends totally on the carrier, what kind of rules and regulation they have, but that's not the case with final expense. So for the final expense, you don't have to wait a lot. It barely takes you around 24 to 48 hours in order to get the whole coverage, right? So that's how the final expense works. Now, as far as the rebuttals are concerned, you don't have to be worried about the rebuttals. If somebody says that they are not interested, you could just simply rebut them this way: "Hey, we are not asking you to make any decisions or to buy something right away. First of all, we'll just go ahead and show you some options, sort of like comparison between an apple with apple, right? And then if you like something, for sure you can go ahead. Otherwise, there would be no obligations for you. If somebody says that they have already got whole life insurance policy or final expense, so you have to rebut them that okay, that's pretty understandable, and I do appreciate that you've got something in place. But as you know, there is inflation going on, and the prices of both burial and cremation are going up every single year. So let's say you got a policy of 10,000 in 2024, right? Which could be sufficient for your burial, but if you talk about 2030, 2035, and so on, your current policy would not be enough to cover your burial, right? So in that case, you would need to have a little bit of coverage, which is what we are here for. We will definitely help you to add on some coverage to your current one. If somebody says how much will it cost me, you could just simply tell them, well, it could cost you around $1 per day, but make sure you do not make any sort of promises, because the underwriter could only tell them the exact prices, because they know based on their customers health conditions and age, they would be able to pull out the exact codes and rates for them. Now, if somebody says why do you need their age, or their date of birth, right, or the health conditions, so you could simply tell them that this policy depends on your health conditions and your age. That's the reason we are asking for your health conditions and your age. Somebody says why do you need their first and last name, just tell them, well, in order to introduce you to a licensed agent, we would like to have your first and last name. That's it. So there are different rebuttals, but those could be situational rebuttals. If you face any scenario where you are unable to handle the customer, you can just simply write a comment in this video, and I'll make sure to make a video on that comment, or if possible, I would just reply you in the comment. That's all for today. We will see you in the next video. I hope this video would help you out with the final expense, and if you still have any questions or queries, you can let me know. Allah Hafiz.